Hello, everybody. Welcome to your all-in prediction show for 2025. I am so excited to get into this. Welcome to the Modcast, not a review show for once, but finally we are getting back to what we started with. The first ever show that we did on this channel was a Revolution prediction show, and finally we are getting back to that long tradition. And we are running down a card that looks absolutely stellar on paper, in principle. I'm so excited to see what it looks like in practice. And we will be predicting what we think might happen along the way. I am joined not by Dory for a change, but I am joined by our producer, our long-suffering producer, finally gets his moment in the spotlight with me. I'm not sure. Have we done a show before together? I'm not sure.
Maybe once. Maybe once.
It's been a while though.
Yes.
So welcome to you, Chim, Justin. Thank you for joining me today. We have a lot to get through. For anyone wondering, by the way, if we're doing a Dynamite or a Collision review for this week, we are not, because we're absolutely thoroughly inundated with wrestling content. We simply do not have time. We have lives to live outside of wrestling, and the time that we have outside of work, we are watching wrestling. So we have managed to squeeze this one in. We're going to talk about the card as presently constituted. 11 matches on this card, including 2 pre-show matches, which were added last night. We're recording this on Friday, the day before the show. I don't anticipate any more being added, but if they are, just know that we are recording this at 4 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, or 4 o'clock British Summer Time on Friday. It is not my fault if Tony Khan decides to go buck wild and add a 16-man tag like he did last year.
Yeah. At least we have the advantage of it not being a Sunday pay-per-view with a Saturday Collision where they add matches during that. We are post-Collision, at least.
Yes, there is no more televised AEW content to be shown before the show, so I think we should be safe. But we're gonna get right into this. We'll start with the pre-show matches, and we'll start with what I imagine in ring to be the better of the 2 pre-show matches, which is FTR, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, taking on the Outrunners of Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd. Now, have you seen their Collision match yet?
Yes, I try to almost always watch Collision live, and I've been a fan for FTR for a while, as I think everyone should be, and I think Outrunners really showed out in that match as well. And I don't know if it's the FTR magic blending over with them, or it's just they're super over and everyone's into it. And it was their Collision match was so great. I can only imagine what this match is going to be in front of the All-In crowd.
Yeah, I mean, if that Collision match is a blueprint or anything to go by, this match should be astronomical for a pre-show match as well. I'd argue, hate me if you want, I mean, I know this card has a lot of good stuff on it. I'd argue, based on the results of their Collision match, this was worthy of being on the main show, because they tore the house down. The Outrunners have defied sort of belief, wrestling logic, and, to be honest, their own booking to be just incredibly over. And now, with that FTR match, with the match last night on Collision, which I thought was really, really good, I think they've shown all the wrestling chops to be like, well, they're not just a comedy act anymore. It reminds me a bit of sort of 2021 Orange Cassidy, where it's like, oh, well, everyone knew him as, this sort of comedy act. He'd roll around in the ring or whatever, and he was super over. And then he started to show, oh, no, he's a brilliant wrestler as well.
Yeah. I feel like the turnaround for Orange Cassidy, not to go for too big of a tangent, was the Zack Sabre match.
Oh God, yeah. Wait, no, not the Zack Sabre match. The Zack Sabre match is 2024. I know what you mean though. It was Ospreay, wasn't it?
Was it Osprey? Oh, you're right. Osprey was the first one, right? But I really remember the Zack Sabre Jr. match. And
I
just
mean, that was
Zack Sabre praising him afterward, being like, yeah, I feel like that was, while the Osprey match was great, and I think it allowed him to show off. I feel like the Zack Sabre match put it a step higher, at least for me.
That's fair.
Especially just like I said, the post after the match, and Zack Sabre being like this guy he is not what a lot of people claim he is. He is as real as anyone.
Definitely, and he is. You only need to look at that that title run that he had. For my money, the best title run of AEW's history, to be honest. But that is a hell of a tangent that we got off to here. Orange Cassidy isn't even on the card, Justin.
He isn't. Sadly. I
hope he comes
Orange Cassidy. Yeah.
I really hope he comes back. But yeah, just to talk about this match, who do you have? Who do you have winning? Because I could go either way on this one.
I would be surprised if it's not FTR. Just because I think they are nearing another tag team championship run, or at least competitive in the run for it. And I don't see them losing right now and being in that position. And Outrunners have nothing to lose by losing other than position in the division. So I don't know, I gotta go FTR.
That's fair. I am a lot more torn than you are, just because FTR got the win in the first one and it was such a great match, that I wonder whether this could be sort of the fact that it's not on the main card makes me think that this might be sort of like the second of a 3-match sort of trilogy that they do between them. So I think I'm going to differ with you on this one. I think I've got the Outrunners here. Just because I think FTR won the first one. I'm doing sort of booking maths in my head, which is a pitfall that you can really fall into, especially on a card like this. But I'm just sort of thinking, like, I'd love to see them do it, one more time, maybe in like a collision main event, a special sort of collision main event, give them 30 minutes and really showcase what the Outrunners can do, and then you can have whoever wins win there. But yeah, I'm going with the Outrunners here. So then after that, we have an 8-man tag team match again that was set up on the collision last night. We have the Don Callis family of Hechicero, Lance Archer, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta versus Big Boom AJ. He is back. I've missed you so. And the conglomeration of Hologram, Kyle O'Reilly, and Tomohiro Ishii. I know there are some people that hate Big Boom AJ. You will not find one of them here.
I was about to say, you're not being opposed today on the show. I think Big Boom is great.
I think he's brilliant. Like, the man, first of all, the man works his ass off to promote every show that he's on. I've never seen anyone go out there and just, put himself front and center and be like, look, I'm going to be on this AEW show over and over again on, his massive following, get people through the door. Respect the hell out of him for that. But also, like, I think it was the QT Marshall match where I was just like, oh, this guy can wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get, I don't want to do comparisons to anywhere else, but you do get people like, apparently Jelly Roll is supposed to be wrestling at SummerSlam, and I've obviously nobody's ever seen the Jelly Roll match before, but I can't imagine he'll be, Will Ospreay levels of good. But with Big Boom AJ, he used to be a wrestler, and obviously he's brought it back now. So he's got the fundamentals down, and he is able to work a match that's like good old-fashioned wrestling fun while also being very technically sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I just appreciate that so much, because it is, if AEW is going to do these celebrity matches, then he is the exact sort of person you want to do a celebrity match with, because he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
He gets it so much. And just to piggyback off of that, just because of who is in this match, first of all, love that Tomohiro Ishii is in this match. He deserves to be on the card in some capacity because his AEW summer excursions are always just so much fun.
Absolutely.
And so, look at this, holograms undefeated. Kyle O'Reilly is, a big star. Tomohiro Ishii, and obviously Big Boom AJ. You gotta go for them, right?
Right. Yeah. I absolutely. There is 0% chance that the Don Callis family is winning this match. Zero. I rarely do I ever say 0% or 100% in wrestling. There's a 0% chance the Don Callis family wins this match.
I agree. I completely agree with you. And I love Hechicero. So again, very, very glad that he's on this card. But yeah, he's losing, and so is Lance Archer, and so is Trent Barretta, and so is Rocky Romero, as they should.
Yes.
Because I think you could book Big Boom AJ in the world title picture, and I'd be like, well, I mean, he's Big Boom AJ, doesn't lose.
Well, I think the funny thing in thinking about this is the Don Callis family has gotten a reputation, I think, recently of one, being way too big, and two, having the best talent, half of the best talent in AEW.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you look like down the roster and you're like, all right, the top 10 people, like 5 of them are in the Don Callis family. Almost, right? And on the other half of the Don Callis family, you have probably the jobberest of jobbers. Almost.
Yeah, it's like they very much thrown out the B team on this one, haven't they?
And it's a great position because they can have the Don Callis family, who's imposing as a group, but can also lose without harming the people that are ultimately, the future stars.
Yeah, it's like you can book a feud with the Don Callis family, and it's like, oh, you want the Don Callis family to get a win? You put Carl Fletcher out there. You put Konosuke Takeshita out there. You put, to a lesser extent, Josh Alexander out there.
Yeah.
You want the Don Callis family to lose? You put Lance Archer. You put Rocky Romero. You put Trent Barretta out there, and they can lose.
Right.
So yeah, it's a well-constituted faction for storytelling purposes, and obviously the story here is Big Boom AJ is going to hit the boom on, let's say, I mean it's going to be Rocky Romero probably, and get the win as he should.
I could see it's either Rocky Romero. I could see a great spot of him hitting it on Lance Archer. If he can hit it.
Oh, if he can. If he doesn't shatter his ankle again.
Yes.
The man's nearly 50. The man's nearly 50. We got to give him a bit of grace.
Yeah, but I think if he can hit it, I think Lance Archer would be the spectacle.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll see. I mean, they're going to win either way, so it makes no odds to us. So onto the main card. 9 matches on the main card, as we previously discussed. I'm curious, what should we start with? Let's go. I tell you what. Let's go with the AEW World Trios Championship match, which was also, I believe, officially set up last night, right? Or was it the night before? I can't remember.
It was definitely this week. It was, I think, challenged on Wednesday and basically acknowledged who the third man is for the Death Riders implicitly, but it was explicit as of last night on Collision.
Yeah, that's fair. So we have the Ops, the current AEW World Trios champions of Katsuyori Shibata, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Samoa Joe, versus the Death Riders of Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and the Death Rider adjacent madman, of Gabe Kidd. I know I have friends who are big New Japan aficionados, not so much AEW, but very big in like the New Japan scene. they're very, very frustrated with that Gabe Kidd is in the Death Riders. For me, I mean, doesn't really make much odds to me. You know, I've sat through House of Torture. They can sit through Gabe Kidd in the Death Riders. Fuck them. But you know, I get it. But also, he's not going to win, right? Like this is an Ops retention for sure. I mean, that's just my opinion anyway. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is going to be retaining by the Ops and probably leading into a storyline to set up a match with Gabe Kidd at Forbidden Door. Would be my assumption as to really why he's being added here. And I think anyone on the side of the Ops would make for a pretty great Gabe Kidd match. And I guess as a quick note, the match last night on Collision between Gabe Kidd and Shibata was excellent.
It really was. Like for a match that was only 2 days out from the biggest pay-per-view of the year, they had no reason or right to go as hard as they did. They kicked and slapped the absolute piss out of each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that was a brilliant match. I think this is going to be a good match. By no means anywhere near the best match on the card, but, a good solid retention, I think, for the Ops.
Yeah.
Shouldn't go more than like 10-15 minutes, in my opinion, because we have a lot to go through. But, a good match to have on the card. I'm glad that the Trios champions are defending on the card, because God knows they need to defend those belts more.
True. Yeah, very much.
So up next, I think we should talk about the AEW TNT Championship match, which faces the Protostar, my boy, my baby, the Protostar at I nearly said the Protostar Adam Cole. Then I'm very tired. It is very hot here. The Protostar Carl Fletcher challenging the champion Adam Cole, baby. This very much feels like if I were to lock in like my one absolute certainty pick on this entire card, even more than Big Boom AJ, Carl Fletcher is winning that belt.
Yeah. I feel like he should. Looking at wrestling maths, title changes are in theory rare. And we're looking at retainment for the trios. We can talk about the other stuff later, but I think we're seeing this could be a change, but I think we are definitely seeing one change later on. So wrestling maths in my mind says it's like 60% chance Kyle, 40% chance for retaining Adam Cole, but I think Kyle should win.
I'm shocked. I gotta be honest. I think it's like a 99% chance that Carl Fletcher wins here, just because I agree. If you look at the cards and be like, oh well, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. If you just look at what's been happening in this feud, though, you had the disqualification, or was it? I can't remember. I think it was a disqualification or a time limit draw, a fucky finish. Anyway,
yeah.
Then you've had these sort of road to New Japan style tags where they've been sort of flip flopping who gets the win. I believe last night the Paragon got the win. Oh God, don't fact check me on this one. I'm just yes, they did. Okay.
Yeah.
Paragon got the win last night.
Yeah.
So that sort of tells me that I just genuinely don't see a hope in hell for Adam Cole to retain this belt, and nor should he, because this is a really good opportunity to put, the mid-card belt left in your company, because, they're going to be unifying the other two, to put the, mid-card belt in your company on a guy that you can just put in matches week after week after week, which you can't do with Adam Cole, to be fair. Because, if you do that to Adam Cole, he's fragile. He's going to break. But you could do that with Carl Fletcher. Just put him in a TNT title match every couple of weeks and reinvigorate that division. And also put your belt on a guy that is for my money, one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. It just makes complete logical sense to me that Carl Fletcher is winning this match.
Yeah, no, I agree with the logic. It's just, I think like I said, title changes are rare. Is this the right spot for it? Probably. But we've seen stranger decisions before.
I agree, but also, it's all the biggest show of the year. They've clearly wanted to build to this match. Otherwise, if they weren't going to build to this title change now, you probably would have done the title change on Collision like we thought they were going to do.
Right.
But yeah, Carl Fletcher is my pick. I think Carl Fletcher is yours.
Yeah.
Albeit less sure than I am. So yeah, we're on the same page, just bickering about the details.
As we usually do.
That is on brand for us. So after that, we should talk about. I want to save the Casino Gauntlets for a minute because I want to talk about them in conjunction. So we're going to go with the AEW World Tag Team Championship match, which is a three-way match of the Hurt Syndicate of Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin defending the belt against Jet Speed, which I maintain should have been Jet Ball, of Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey, and added in, sort of on a whim, the patriarchy of Christian Cage and Nick Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
I am so intrigued as to this match. This is one. There are a couple of matches on this card that are very predictable. This is not one of them. I think this could absolutely go. It could go one of three ways. It could genuinely. There is no safe bet in this match for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the big thing with this match is there's, again, going back to wrestling maths. It's a three-way, so the champions can lose their titles without being involved. Blah blah blah. Right. That should always be a factor in thinking about these matches, and I think the Hurt Syndicate are destined to remain strong. This isn't the story I would have picked for them to lose, how they would have lost the titles, but whatever. I'm not the booker. So it's like, I think they could retain. Who takes the pin? I don't want it to be Jet Speed.
No.
It could definitely be the patriarchy. I wouldn't mind. But then we also have in the background the meta information that, in theory, father-son tag titles have been created.
Yeah. If we didn't know that piece of information, I would not give the patriarchy a hope in hell in this match.
Yeah.
I would just think, they've been thrown in, to get them on the card because Christian Cage wants to be on the card, and fair enough. But the fact that they've said that they have made father and son tag belts just makes me think, oh God, that seems too perfect, too on the nose for them not to win. Yeah. But then on the other hand, I think they've done, the story got a bit rocky sort of halfway through. But I think they've done a really good job of building up Jet Speed as genuine title contenders. I mean, especially because both wrestlers are really, really good. Speedball, for my money, is one of the top 10 wrestlers in the world. So you can never bet against them. But then also you've got the Hurt Syndicate, who are incredibly over, like ridiculously over.
Yeah.
They're gone. Like you say, it's not necessarily the story I would have picked to dethrone them, given that they've had a 7-month reign at this point. You would think that it would be sort of a
I would have liked them to lose to a team that was working as a team. That was kind of my story from the beginning, that Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin are like two powerhouse singles wrestlers that are together as a team, but don't really work as a team, if that makes sense.
No, they're business associates as opposed to partners.
Right. So I always thought a team like FTR, who they are one unit at all times, would have made more sense. But this was, going back 6 months ago, and so yeah, I honestly I don't know. Do they got? It feels like a bit of a whimper if they drop the titles, and also wrestling maths of title changes comes into play as well. And yeah, I don't know. I agree that this is probably the biggest toss up, because it's like babyface wise, Jet Speed I think will make great tag team champs. They can defend those titles every week. That would be great for the show. I don't see Hurt Syndicate dropping the titles here though, and then the father son titles that theoretically create for the patriarchy. So it's like, I think this is the biggest toss up I think on the card, and I think there's two perfectly fine stories, but at the same time, I think the Hurt Syndicate retaining and Jet Speed winning, but at the same time, I really want to see the father and son tag belts.
I agree. I don't know who to go for though. I have to put a name down, but I'm gonna go with my heart rather than what maybe my head says here, and I'm gonna say that I think Jet Speed are walking out with those belts.
Yeah, I think I will go with. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with the retaining Hurt Syndicate, and that way we can both be wrong when the patriarchy walks away with them.
Yeah, the thing is, like, there's one factor that we haven't discussed yet, which is that Christian Cage is the biggest politica in wrestling history. Well, maybe not wrestling history. We can't discount the Hulk stuff, but certainly in AEW, he's the biggest He's the biggest politica in AEW right now, and it's like you can't discount the sort of voodoo magic that he has over Tony Khan to be like, well, maybe I should. The patriarchy would be really good. Oh, you want to put me and Adam Copeland back together? Yeah, but I'm not done with the patriarchy. I think we'd have a good run with the belts. It's like you can't discount that.
I think it would be fun. I love Christian Cage as a heel, so I can't discount it that it wouldn't be good.
Yeah, see that's the thing. I can forgive Christian Cage's politicking because he's so good. If he was sort of Hogan in '97 being crap and also being politicking, I'd be like, fuck off out of here. But since he's such a phenomenal heel, I'm just like, yeah, do you know what? If you wanna talk your shit, then go ahead.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's a bad decision in this match, which is probably why it's the best toss up as well. And yeah, like I said, I'll pick the Hurt Syndicate because I think it makes the logical sense. I would be super happy to see Jet Speed with the titles, and just also happy that I think the father son stuff would be funny.
I agree.
So
I'm still going Jet Speed. Speedball has my heart.
That's fair.
So after that, I think now we will talk about. We'll go with the men's one first. We'll talk about the men's Casino Gauntlet match, and they have confirmed this is for a future AEW World Championship match. They have not confirmed if it is sort of cash in or you have to declare it in advance or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. But for the men's, we have sort of 3 or 2.5 people confirmed, where it's like we know that Mark Briscoe and MJF are going to be numbers 1 and 2, and we know that Mystico has declared for it, but that is obviously in the rules of the match, no guarantee that he will be there, but also he's gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I am curious as to who you think. I stand corrected. There are other announced entrants,
Ricochet.
But we don't know. Yeah, Ricochet. Apparently, Bandito and Brody King as well are announced to be part of it. But again, I think with those, there's less of a guarantee that they will be in it, especially people like Bandito. But I hope they are. So those 6 people, we can reasonably assume that they will be there. But I'm curious as to who you've got winning, because I have a guy that I think would be really good. I think would be an excellent sort of contender for the World Championship based on where I think the World Championship is going, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, my
But
obvious, I think it's Ricochet. I would 100% put Ricochet in this spot.
Okay, we are in agreement. That is who I've got as well.
I think he's brilliant. I think he's a top heel looking for a spot. I think the recent gatherings of the Gates of Agony, I think he's perfect, and it's not going to be MJF yet.
No.
Because he has we're talking some math. MJF has 2 opposing figures against him, and Mystico and Mark Briscoe.
Yeah.
Bandito will probably do some spots in this match. I don't see him going to the world title scene.
No, especially since I think Bandito is retaining at Supercard tonight.
Yeah.
I love Konosuke Takeshita. He's about to go off and do the G1. I don't think he's winning the belt.
Yeah. No, I would agree. And Brody King, I think he deserves something, probably TNT title at some point.
I'd love for him to be the one that takes it off Carl Fletcher. I think that would be great.
I would not disagree with that. So yeah, I think Ricochet is the guy for the spot in this match, personally.
I'm curious as to what you think. I saw a theory online, just to get everyone's heart racing ever so slightly. That what if they give the shot to Darby Allin just to make everyone shit themselves?
I don't hate that. I think there is going to be probably 2 surprise entrances. I wouldn't be surprised if Darby is one of them. I think there's going to be a tease for it, and I think Ricochet kills Darby. Not literally, obviously.
I personally don't think it's going to happen, because I don't think Darby's going to be in the match. I think the big thing is going to be Darby coming down from the rafters, a la Sting, to help Hangman in the main event.
Why not both?
Because I feel like you get diminishing returns there.
Yeah.
You've only, I know, but I think you're going to do one or the other. I certainly think Darby Allin is factoring in somewhere on this card. Whether it's in the main or whether it's in this match.
Yeah, he's definitely going to appear tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'd personally save it for the main. So I don't have a fucking coronary, in the main event. And B, just because I think that makes the more sort of thematic sense.
Mm-hmm.
You have the sort of big. I know people have compared it negatively to like Roman and Cody at Mania 40, but you have that sort of big Avengers Assemble moment of people like Darby, Sting, maybe Orange Cassidy, maybe Bryan Danielson, maybe Eddie Kingston. You have maybe Swerve Strickland, which we'll talk about later. Ospreay, that sort of, where you have all these people coming out to help Hangman get it done. I think that's a spot for Darby to come back, and not in this match. But it's a moot point anyway, because I think Ricochet's winning regardless.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's my pick, and it's going to be a fun match either way.
Oh, 100%. It's going to be a really fun match. So yeah, then we should talk about the AEW Women's World Championship Gauntlet match. I misspoke there. That was bad phrasing on my part. The Casino Gauntlet match for the Women's Casino Gauntlet match for a future AEW Women's World Championship shot. Now, with the men, this I'm genuinely a pretty sort of happy-go-lucky person. I'm along for the ride. With the men, it's like, oh well, I think Ricochet should win, but if they decide to go another direction, I'll be like, oh, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
With the women, the women's Casino Gauntlet match, there's a way this has to go. I am not negotiating with this. This has to go one specific fucking way, and that is Athena winning this fucking match, Justin.
Yeah. The only thing that I have qualms about for this is not that I don't want to see Athena versus Tony, because I do, but I really want to see Athena versus Mercedes again. And I don't think Mercedes wins tomorrow.
Really? Okay. We'll talk about the women's match later. That is much more of a toss up for me than I think it is for you. The women's world championship match. But regardless of who wins that match, I still think it should be Athena. And whoever wins the women's world championship match later on, I think Athena should beat them. I know it probably won't happen that way, and I'm going to crash out. But I just think that the story is ready made there, that she has been the forever Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. I have resigned myself to the fact that it's going to be Thunder Rosa that beats her tonight. Barring some awful injury that I would never wish on anyone. But barring any sort of freak accident, it's going to be Thunder Rosa that beats her tonight. Should have been Billy Starks. We're not here to discuss it. But I think coming out of that match, it is the perfect opportunity to properly re-debut her on the main roster, if you will, on the AEW roster, and have her show up and win and solidify her as, like, for anyone who hasn't been watching Ring of Honor, she's the woman. She is the fallen fucking goddess, and she should be absolutely catapulted into the main event as soon as you possibly can. And this is the perfect opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I think she's definitely the leading candidate. I think there's a few others that could work, but I feel like a lot of other people have opponents for, like, the near future. And
yeah, it's like I think you can make the argument for Willow or Chris, but also I think Willow and Chris are going into a feud. You could make the argument for someone unexpected, like Tekla or Queen Aminata, but also I think you're doing Tekla versus Queen Aminata for the foreseeable future. You could maybe do Megan. You could do Megan Bain, but I think Megan Bain is going to be busy with the tag division. I think she's probably going to be your inaugural AEW women's tag team champion with Penelope Ford.
Yeah, very, very
so
possible.
There are a lot of women that could theoretically win this match, but are tied up in booking coming out of this show. The only other person I could see is potential. I could see Willow, just because it's Willow. Mm-hmm. And I think you could get a really good match. If Mercedes wins, you could have a really good story of Mercedes being the one, Willow being the one to sort of dethrone Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Go on.
I was gonna say, I think we're seeing a debuting. I don't want to say debuting, re-debuting, popping first official match of Alex Windsor, in this gauntlet. I think she's gonna get the Ricochet spot from last year, arguably, and she could win. I think that would be a very good match. Some people might accuse a Will Ospreay of being, a Ospreay Hogan. Listen, bring a girl in, and she gets a title shot right away.
Yeah. It works.
I could see it.
I
Is Athena still the best pick? Yes.
I think Alex Windsor will debut in this match. I don't think she wins it, but I do think that she has a match at Forbidden Door in some capacity.
Sure.
So it's not outside the realm of possibility that they do that. They get to that through this match. But I just don't see it happening. I think that is sort of too bold a prediction, if you will. Too bold a strategy for a match like this. I think Athena, not only is she the leading candidate, I think she's probably the safe candidate as well. Where it's like she's over as hell. It's a perfect way to debut or re-debut her. I'd go in Athena. It's my head and my heart converging here. I think Athena's winning.
Now let me throw out one more name.
Okay.
Billy Starks.
I knew you were going to say that. I fucking knew you were going to say that because I had the same thought. And
Matt, now follow me here. Thunder Rosa doesn't win tonight.
Oh, now you've jumped the shark there.
So Athena walks into the gauntlet still as ROH Women's World Champion, expecting to win. Her teammate Billy Starks comes out, helps her. Billy Starks pins Athena for the gauntlet win, setting up the title feud also for ROH, while letting Billy Starks have a premier spot against for the title shot down the line at some point. That makes sense. But
my worry. Oh, carry on.
I was saying, but also that way Billy can actually win the title off of Athena because Athena interferes with the world title shot and causes Billy Starks to lose that.
I mean, I see the vision. My worry there is that this is the first ever women's casino gauntlet with any sort of real stakes. I know that Megan Bain won the first one. She got a women's world title shot, but also it was on a random Dynamite, and she got a B pay-per-view shot. This is in the biggest show of the year. You are putting the women's casino gauntlet match on a par with the men's. It's the first one that feels massive, sort of big time.
Listen, everything you're saying is right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying maybe there's another option.
I agree. I love Billy Starks. I adore Billy Starks. I think she is, certainly going to win the big one down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think she's the right person to win it on this stage with these stakes. I just yeah.
I agree. But what if?
I know what if. I think there's like a 2% chance that it happens, but I'm still going Athena.
Yeah. I think Athena is the pick, but we'll see. We'll see tomorrow.
We will. But for now, we will move on to less dicey territory, at least in terms of my sort of crashing out potential. We'll talk about what, for my money, may well be the best, like the match of the night in ring, which is Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay versus the Young Bucks of Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. The stakes of this match, if you haven't been paying attention to All Elite Wrestling programming, if the Young Bucks lose, they will be stripped of their executive vice president titles, which I guess in kayfabe means that they will no longer have any authority to book matches or be the pricks that they have been. If Swerve and Will lose, then both of them cannot challenge for the AEW World Championship for 1 calendar year. I've gone on a real odyssey with this one, because when it was first announced, Osprey threw out that we're going to throw out the challenge, and if we win, you won't be EVPs anymore. And I thought, oh, okay then, they're winning. That's a great way for the Young Bucks to get rid of this sort of EVP albatross where it basically makes them impossible to turn babyface because they'll always have the authority. They'll always, be pricks with them. So I thought, okay, for sure, Osprey and Strickland are winning. And then the Young Bucks came out, and fair play to them. They said, "Oh, you want to throw out that challenge, and if we lose, we'll be stripped of our EVP status." No, fuck off. Why the hell would we ever agree to that? And so Osprey, threw in the sweetener. If we lose, we won't challenge for the titles for 1 year. And at that point, I went, "Oh, fuck." Now I'm pretty sure that the Young Bucks are winning, because that is a hell of a booking prospect to throw out and then not do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the much more interesting story is Osprey and Swerve not being able to challenge for the title for a year.
Yeah.
The timeline is very important.
Yeah, we're not doing a Cody here. It is for 1 year only, but a year is a long time, especially in wrestling. And with the young Bucks being stripped of their EVP status would be fun. It would be sort of interesting to see where they go from there. Probably turn face, maybe sort of try to reconcile with Kenny and that sort of thing. But the prospect of Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland, the machinations of their characters, how they would react to that. I think if they lose, they'll probably spin off into a feud with one another about, Swerve being like, "You cost me my opportunity to take down Hangman, which is all I've ever wanted to do. I wanted to beat him for the world title, and now you've fucked it up for me." And then Ospreay sort of, reacting to that, and then having what I should imagine would be a very good feud.
Mm-hmm.
And it does set up very neatly Ospreay winning in Wembley.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think the timeline works out really well for whatever story, and I think I mentioned this the other day in the Discord channel. The other thing I think it does interestingly is take people out of world title contention to allow other people to step in.
Yeah, I agree. It very much frees up, the top of the card, because Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. It cannot be overstated just how monstrous a grip on the top of the card that they have. Because they are two guys that you can put in any scenario. It's like, oh, we need a main event match. Well, your first two guys, the first two people that you think of are, well, we'll put Will in there, we'll put Swerve in there. So yeah, it is a great opportunity for people like whoever loses the unification match later on in the night. I should imagine will be one of the people sniffing around the world title scene in that year if Swerve and Ospreay lose. It's for people like Konosuke Takeshita, for people like Carl Fletcher, for people, yes, like Darby Allin. I know a lot of people don't necessarily want him sniffing around the world title, but it's for people like Ricochet. It's for people maybe even like Mark Briscoe. It's for people like MJF. You have all these people on this roster that can step up in the absence of your two biggest stars being at the top of the card. It's bold. It's a bold thing to do. I applaud. The balls to look at your two biggest stars and go, nope, we're going to completely cut them out of the world title scene for a year. It's a bold strategy. But I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more interesting. The only logical thing I have weird with the story is, why do the Bucks care? if they can't challenge for the title?
Because they, I don't know. Well, I suppose you cannot discount the enmity between, especially the Bucks and Swerve. Swerve has been hunting them for months now.
Yeah.
So any opportunity they get to sort of take him down a peg would be excellent. And plus, it would sow discord between two of their greatest enemies. If they lose, I don't know. I think it makes sense. I can rationalize it in my head.
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little weak, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun, which is all I really care about. Not that I'm trying to poke holes in anything. Just like, why do they care?
Yeah, and plus, I think they set it up as Osprey was saying it. They sort of set up like, oh well, doesn't seem like your partner is on the same page as you. So perhaps they think, well, we can sow discord with this sort of thing. So because they're shitheads, it's the sort of thing that they would love to, take and run with.
Yeah, no, I think the good pick is the Bucks winning on multiple levels, besides the fact that they are a tag team and Swerve and Osprey are, while very strong tag team, like they've demonstrated a lot of fundamentals for tag team.
Yeah.
They're still not an established tag team, so I always have a little bit of opposition to two people joining as a team, beating an established tag team.
I agree. I think back to Grand Slam last year, where you had the Bucks, they were champions, taking on, it was Will and Kyle, and two men that you can never ever bet against. And I sort of thought, well, I think that would be a poor decision to take the belts off of the Bucks to put them on. They're not necessarily a Franken team, because they were, in the United Empire together, they were sort of
right.
Friends, but also, it would have been a poor decision to not put it on an established tag team. And I think, to be fair, there is a possibility coming out of this match, if Swerve and Osprey lose, that they then go into the tag division together as a proper tag team. They could even take the belts off the Hurt Syndicate if that's what you wanted to do.
It's possible. I think it's more likely for them to split and Swerve turn heel. I think in the grand scheme of things, maybe not right away. I think it's about time for Swerve to slide heel again, even though it hasn't been that long ago.
Well, I mean, it's been a good sort of 18 months, I think, since he last was a proper heel. Because what you got to remember is he was a heel during the Hangman feud, but also he was a heel that was getting cheered massively because he was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And like going into his world championship reign, he was very much a babyface. Like, I think the only time he ever got booed during that reign was when he faced Bryan, just because everyone desperately wanted Bryan to win.
Right. No,
so,
you're right.
And I think he's a natural heel. He exhibits those sort of that heel character so well. It's a bit like Christian Cage, where it's like, he's a good baby face. Don't get me wrong. It's a bit like the Bucks, actually. They're great baby faces, but their work as heels over. It's like when the Bucks are baby faces, I'm like, oh yeah, they these are great. And when they're heels, I'm like, oh, they should never be baby faces. Holy shit.
Similar FTRs the same way. Like FTRs good faces, but they're great heels.
Yeah, which I think is part of the reason why the Bucks and FTR never really gelled. They gel in ring, but they never sort of had a really tantalizing story. A sort of story. Because I don't know whether you remember the builds to their first match. It was all over the fucking place. Like, it really was.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. So in this case, I think I'm calling the Bucks. My prediction.
Yeah, as am I. As am I. I think it just makes the most sense, and it sets up the more intriguing things coming out of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have to get into the trifecta of the most hyped matches on this card. What should we start with? I think we'll start with the AEW Women's World Championship match of Timeless Toni Storm defending the belt against, God, how many is it? 7? I think it's 7 now. 7 belts, Mercedes Moné.
I think it's 6 currently, isn't it?
Is it? Is it? I thought.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me have a look.
I'm pretty sure it is 6 right now.
Hold on. I'm just gonna. Thank you, Cage Match, for being such a wonderful organization and helping me out here. Let's have a look. Titles. She has the CMLL Women's World Champion, the EWA. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, no, you are right. It is 6. I apologize. I miscounted. I thought she was still strong women's champion, but no, she lost that to Azumi. So my bad.
Yeah. So 6 belts Monet versus 1 belt Toni.
Who do you have?
I think Toni Storm retains.
Do you? Okay. I don't know. I really don't know. It's this and the tag team match where I'm like, this could absolutely go either way. You know, I think all the other matches are like, they're not predictable, but I could sort of make the case for like, oh, this should happen. But this one, I'm like, I have no clue. This is a pure toss up in my mind.
This is my reasoning. I think Mercedes doesn't have creative control.
Wow, bold takes only on this channel.
I'll take the hard stance. Mercedes does not have creative control in AEW. On top of it, I don't think Mercedes cares about winning and losing as much as most people think she does. I think that Mercedes would be happy to lose to Toni Storm. I think it makes more sense for her to lose. And I almost think that Mercedes would insist on losing just to break the rumors. You know, to be like, oh yeah, she can lose, and it's not bad really for her to lose this match. It reminds me a lot of the Ospreay Swerve match when Swerve was champion, and there was a lot of like, oh well, Tony Khan isn't going to have Ospreay lose. Why would he have Ospreay lose? Ospreay's the star. Like Ospreay's a champion. Like tomorrow, no one would care. But Ospreay came in and put Swerve over during his championship run, and I think that's what Mercedes would do here.
That's really interesting. I've never really thought about. Yeah, it's the sort of the prospect of the Ospreay Swerve. Everyone thinks that Mercedes is going to win because she's Mercedes, and she just says no. Nobody is above losing to the world champion. But counterpoint to everything you've just said, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. Tony Khan obviously values Mercedes Moné ridiculously high.
Mm-hmm.
As he should, because she is, for my money, the best women's wrestler on the planet. I don't think it can be overstated how much Tony Khan would absolutely love to have Mercedes Moné as his top champion. You know, to be the AEW Women's World Champion, because she is the biggest star in women's wrestling. she is the best star in women's wrestling. There's just a part of me that says, on the biggest stage that they've ever had in North America, to have the best women's wrestler in North America, win their biggest prize, that's an opportunity that I don't know whether he'd be able to pass up. And plus, I think, there's been a big thing made of like Mercedes' winning streak. She hasn't lost in AEW, full stop. And, there's been talks of like, well, who gets the rub, brother, from that? Whether it's Athena, whether it's Willow, whether it's Chris. And I don't know whether Toni Storm needs that.
I think so. I totally agree, and I think that there could have been better places for Mercedes to lose her first match.
Yeah. In all honesty, I still think, I know that this match feels absolutely massive and big time, but in my heart of hearts, I still think that the better direction for this would have been Toni versus either Jamie, or I wanted Chris Statlander to win the Owen, and then Athena versus Mercedes.
Agreed. But we're here, and that I think what Toni winning here does more than anything is further establish Toni Storm outside of the AEW audience. For someone like Mercedes to effectively come out and say, I'm going to put over, someone who was lesser than her in a previous life, in a previous promotion. I guess I should be more explicit. And I think that is the established, like the super establishing thing for Toni Storm, potentially outside. And then I think that's like the final thing Toni Storm needs to do in her reign. And I think she can probably lose soon after. Not like the next, match or whatever, but because I think that still allows for a very fun, Toni Storm beats Mercedes, I beat Toni Storm, therefore I'm also better than Mercedes. Rock, paper, scissors. Logic for whoever then beats Toni Storm down the line.
I could see that. I just don't know. I just don't know. I have to say someone. You're going Toni, definitely.
I think Toni retains.
Okay. This is tricky. I think I'm going to go for Toni Storm as well. It is 50.5 to 49.5. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go for Toni Storm. Because I think that Athena could beat her.
Yeah. I think that there's a better story, and I also don't want, I guess there's all of the logic points, I think, that I stated before. I also don't want the world title and the mid-card title on one person. I think that's damaging.
Yeah, I agree. Although I will say that if you get one of the belts off her pretty quickly, it's not that damaging. If there is a way you can do it, I think back to like Becky Lynch winning both belts at WrestleMania, sure. And I sort of think like, they got one of the belts off of the next pay-per-view. I think you could do that, although the next pay-per-view is Forbidden Door, so that kind of does throw a wrench in it. But you could have it in like a big Dynamite or something where it's like she loses the I think if she wins the world championship. I think she's losing the TBS belt pretty quickly. Maybe to someone like Mina Shirakawa or someone like that.
Yeah.
I
mean, they could do the classic, put her in a 3 or 4-way match for the TBS title, and she loses without losing.
Yeah,
a classic move, but I think having a loss for Mercedes, I think does her good and Tony good, and sets things up in the long run. But I agree it is close, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah, we're gonna go with Tony. And then I'm saying that, and I'm thinking, oh god, but Mercedes though. This is the one I'm agonizing about the most, for certain. No, stick to it. We got things to do. Tony Storm. Tony Storm is my pick. Okay.
All right.
So coming up after that, I genuinely cannot believe the words that are about to come out of my mouth. We have a winner takes all match to unify the AEW Continental and International Championships into the AEW Unified Championship. That's not the unbelievable part. Just I grew up. Well, I didn't grow up, but in sort of like the 2010s, I was watching New Japan Pro Wrestling because a friend recommended it to me, and Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega blew my tiny fucking mind. And they had 4 matches. Justin, they had 4, and the floor for them was 6 stars. Some of the best wrestling that has ever been shown to anyone with eyes. And now we have the 5th installment, Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega on American soil, finally, because they wanted to do it in Madison Square Garden in April 2019, and then Kenny fucked off and founded this weird little wrestling promotion with his buddies. And now 6 years later, here we are in that little pissant wrestling promotion with 25,000 people in a baseball stadium in Texas watching Kazuchika Okada take on Kenny Omega. Oh, wow. Oh, it gives me goosebumps just to think about it. That's what we're going to watch tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't know what to expect other than to expect the unexpected and be amazed at what these two men can still do at this point.
I agree. I'm expecting a different kind of match than what they did in Japan, just because of time, and the ravages of it. But I think that there is still far too much meat on the bone for them to put on anything other than an instant classic here.
And we saw in the match between Okada and oh my god, why am I spacing on his name? Kenny's friend.
Which one? Kenny's friend, Ibushi.
Ibushi, yes. How do I forget his name? That
not his
match,
friend. I will not have this queer erasure. It's his golden fucking lover.
Yes. That match was, I think, Okada like we haven't seen him in AEW. And I think we are about to see the closest to New Japan Kenny that we have seen in AEW.
Yeah, I think. Well, but that's fair. I counter that and say the closest we ever got to Kenny, New Japan Kenny in AEW was against Will Ospreay. I know that was technically on Forbidden Door, but still.
That's fair.
But I will not.
Yeah, in a proper AEW show.
Yeah, I will not counter your assertion that on a proper AEW show, the thing is, there was a lot of nerves, right? There was a lot of nerves when that was sort of teased and announced as the match, or it wasn't announced. But when he came back at World's End, it was plainly obvious that this was the direction they were going to do Okada versus Omega at All In.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone sort of went, "Oh, will they be able to, do anything remotely close to what they did in Japan?" Because I think that was sort of people's expectation and whether people were hyping themselves up too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5 days after that, Kenny Omega walks into the Tokyo Dome and puts on, if you wanted to call it still the match of the year, I would not argue with you, with Gabe Kidd.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily my match of the year, so still. It's my match of the year so far is almost certainly Hangman versus Ospreay. Until tomorrow, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is that immediately Kenny silenced a lot of the doubters that were thinking, he's come back from diverticulitis. Is he going to be in any way the Kenny that we remember? And then he goes out and puts on one of the matches of the year, and everyone goes, "Oh no, never mind." And then the conversation sort of shifted towards, well, is Okada capable of doing that? And then he did the match with Ospreay that everyone went, "Oh no, okay, he's fine." Then he did the match with Speedball, and everyone went, "Oh no, we're back." And then he did the match with Ibushi, and everyone was like, "Yeah, he's ready."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ready. I'm ready to see it because I think this is going to be an absolutely phenomenal match.
Yep. And I think the logical thing is Kenny winning.
I agree. This is by no means a done deal for me, though. I think there is every chance in the world that Kazuchika Okada walks out with the belt.
Yeah, because I think we're about to see a tonal shift in Okada in general. I don't think from here we go back to completely kind of comedic relief Okada, especially if he loses.
Yeah, I think regardless of the match outcome, this will character-wise and sort of in-ring-wise light a fire under Kazuchika Okada.
Mm.
I think he hits finally. I think he hits the proper Rainmaker pose during this match, which he hasn't done in over a year. He's just been flipping off the crowd.
Yeah.
I think this match. A little mini prediction for you. I think this is the longest match of the night. I think that from bell to bell, I'm expecting at least sort of half an hour out of this match, potentially even sort of 35, 40 minutes. But as to who wins, I think on the balance of it, I think I probably have to go Kenny. I think it makes I think it's the more logical outcome.
Right.
I think that there's a lot more you can do with Kenny as this sort of, they want to make the unified belt be the reports are that they want it to be sort of like the second world title.
Right.
And I think with the greatest of love to Kazuchika Okada, I think Kenny lends that belt a lot more legitimacy if he is the inaugural champion. Especially within the context of AEW.
Right. I think within the context of specifically, especially in a North American audience, Kenny is the pick for the establishing winner.
I mean, if there was an argument to be made that Kenny should have been the inaugural world champion, I understand why they put it on Chris Jericho.
Right.
But there's an argument to be made that, this is a promotion that was really founded around Kenny. Like, as much as, Hangman has become the protagonist of AEW, this is a promotion that was founded on the back of Kenny Omega.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
so
yeah, him and the style, right? The stylistic thing. Like, Chris Jericho, I think, deserves praise, deserves credit. 100%. for the role he performed, especially in the early days, and everything there. But yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing now, I think the hotness of AEW right now is, I don't want to say TK realizing, because that's probably, overstepping things, but we have seen a much more indie / PWG like style of booking in this past year. And I think that's like just a realization of like, this is what AEW is. We can have
it is the alternative.
Yeah, we can have some sports entertainment, right? We can have that stuff. MJF is fantastic at it, and I think MJF is the person that can best bridge between those places as well, at least in terms of like a big name within AEW, mostly because he's fantastic in the ring. MJF is great. He's everything that AEW needs him to be, and I think he's, if MJF ever was to like actually turn face, which I don't know if he can, but he would be waving the flag of AEW as much as anyone. I think. Obviously we don't know. No one knows what MJF actually thinks. But that's just I get a feeling that I think behind the scenes, especially just like how trusted MJF is with stuff, like MJF kicked Mystico in the balls. And took his mask. Right? Like, that is a level of trust that I would have never expected CMLL to like give to a partner, and then on top of it, MJF is the person to do it. Like, but MJF fills that role perfectly. So it's like, I think behind the scenes, MJF is as ingrained as any, like Will Ospreay, Hangman, any of those guys.
Yeah, I agree. But I agree with you as well that there has been a definite tonal shift in the focus of AEW to be on, what it was built on, the alternative to that sort of dominant 20-year monopoly of sports entertainment. And so, you say like the PWG style things, the New Japan style Road to tags that we've been seeing between like the Paragon and the Don Callis family, that sort of thing. I think along with that sort of change of presentation, going back to the root sort of thing, there's been a renewed focus on a lot of the people that embody that sort of alternative mindset, chief among them being Kenny Omega.
Right.
And so going back to the match, I think it makes more sense for him to be the standard bearer of this new world title that they want to promote. He's the heart and soul of the company, or one of them at least. And so I think it just makes more sense for it to be Kenny.
Yep. And I'm just throwing this out there.
Oh, go on.
Early challenger, maybe not first challenger. At some point, Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega for that title. Bryan Danielson, he's good. Give him time, let him rest, get him repaired, whatever he wants to do. If he wants to come back one match,
Forbidden Door,
Wrestle Dream, something.
I do think Bryan wrestles at Wrestle Dream. I don't know who he wrestles, but
I think Bryan is, if he was to come back for one match, it should be him versus Kenny Omega.
Yeah. Or, yeah. I could also see the argument that you finished the trilogy with Zack Sabre Jr.
I think, yeah. If you want to say only one match, then maybe but I think the match is Kenny Omega, and then you can also have a match with Zack, on the side.
I also don't think for a second that Bryan Danielson comes back and only wrestles like one match. I think he's coming back. I think he's probably going to wrestle maybe like 4 to 6 matches a year.
Something, yeah.
He's gonna do the sort of part-timer sort of. He's gonna wrestle Revolution, All In, Forbidden Door, probably Wrestle Dream if they keep it in the Pacific Northwest, Full Gear.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one other, maybe like a Dynamite or something. But I think
I still want the storyline of Yuta being a double agent this whole time for Bryan Danielson. This whole Death Rider storyline, he's been a double agent working effectively under Bryan Danielson in the background. And that's why he's taken the Psycho knee and like a lot of the techniques from Bryan, because Bryan is actually his master. That's not going to happen, but I would enjoy it.
I mean, I could see it. I don't necessarily think it'll happen, but it would be interesting to see. Anyway, finally, we need to talk about the main event. And I know that I'm going to be an absolute bath of sweat during this match. Not just because it's going to be like 32 degrees tomorrow, but I just know that I'm going to be stressed the fuck out this entire match. Because I think this might be a controversial opinion. I think this is maybe the most important match in AEW history in terms of rubber stamping this sort of hot streak that they've been on and being like, no, AEW is the hottest wrestling promotion in the world right now, versus we've just squandered 6 months of goodwill and it's all on fire.
Do you know what I mean? You are very accurate. I think there's one decision. There's only one choice.
There is. We should say for those who have been living under a rock, we are talking about the main event of the show, the Texas Death Match for the AEW World Championship. The Death Rider, Jon Moxley, putting the title on the line against Hangman Adam Page. And yeah, I'm gonna let you finish, but you're right. There's one decision.
There's one choice, and it is Hangman.
It has to be Hangman. It simply fucking has to be Hangman.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how this match is going to go down, I think it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be rehashing lines from Anarchy Arena, of like assembling of the Avengers. It's going to be a lot. I think we're going to see some crazy spots. I think we're going to see. We're definitely getting blood. And I think.
Oh yeah.
And Hangman has to. I mean, Hangman has to win. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Hangman has to win. If he doesn't win, I guess I'll go watch something else.
I was gonna say, don't make promises you can't keep. But I will fall into a very deep depression if Hangman doesn't win. I've never been so invested in a match in my entire wrestling fandom than this match. I've never been so single-minded in my desperation for a very specific thing to happen. And I think it will. I want to rubber stamp this right now. I think Hangman is winning. I do not for a second believe, well, okay, I won't say I don't think for a second believe, but I do not think that Jon Moxley is going to win this match. I think the reports, I'm going to sound like such a fucking mark when I say this, but the reports that came out sort of a few months ago was that when it was sort of being floated, everyone was like, oh, are they going to put the belt on like Cope or Swerve or whatever? And it was reported that Tony Khan has been very firm from the beginning on this story about where and when this is going to end. But the report was that he was probably, he was open to pivoting on who. Now, my belief is that the who was originally going to be Darby Allin. I think that the story that they set up in the early throes of the Death Riders was very clear that Darby Allin was going to be the one to take down the Death Riders and probably take the belt off Moxley. And then he decided to go off to Mount Everest and fuck off and leave the story sort of high and dry. And I think that's made the story suffer for quite a while, especially during the Cope feud. I'm not going to sit here and be an apologist for that. It was bad, and anyone that doesn't think it was bad needs to, get their head checked. But not only have they recovered it really, really well, I think the Death Riders, broadly speaking, have been great for a good 2 months now.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that pivot has happened in Tony Khan's mind and in his booking to say that Hangman is the guy. The where and the when has been fixed as July 12th, Arlington, Texas, from the beginning. And the who has changed from Darby Allin to Hangman Adam Page. And I am going to cry, Justin. I promise you, I am going to cry when Hangman grabs that briefcase, opens it up, and lifts that beautiful fucking belt over his head to end the show.
Yeah.
It has to be. It simply has to happen.
I agree. I think up to this point, if that happens, it's like picture perfect. End of the season. I always think All In is the season finale for AEW, and All Out kind of like the season premiere, right? In terms of what you can see in terms of like storylines and how stuff's going to play out over the next year. And
I mean, we had that sort of last year, All In and All Out in the main event, for example. The season finale of Bryan Danielson lifting the belt above his head, and then the season premiere of All Out being the formation of the Death Riders and the murder of Bryan Danielson.
Right. So I think the proper ending to the story is Hangman standing tall, title over his head, the faces of AEW in the ring cheering, and then what happens next. If there's one thing I worry about in AEW, it's the and next. What's next? When champions win, the win feels great, and then there's always kind of like this, all right, what happens next situation that the champions either kind of like flounder and then until they find their footing, and I would say find their footing, but like find the story is found, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that is known. I hope we know, I hope Tony Khan knows at least a few months what's going to happen next for Hangman. That's my worry, because I am not worried at all about Hangman losing this match. I think he's going to win wholeheartedly, and because otherwise I would yeah, stuff.
It comes with a bulldog choke.
It's like the scene in Avengers Endgame where you look at they're talking to Thor And Thor's like, I have to go kill Thanos. And it's like, well, what if that doesn't work? And it's like, it has to. It has to work. There
Yeah.
is no other option. It has to work.
Yeah, I agree. It has to work. And I think, I genuinely think, and I know that it's become more fashionable to put faith in Tony Khan than it would have been last year, for example.
Yeah.
But I do think that he's not dull. He's not stupid. He knows how big a moment this is for his company.
Yeah.
You know, putting aside what the fans want, though fair play to him, he doesn't. But just for the trajectory of his company, just for the the hot streak that they've been on, he knows how important it is to stick the landing with this.
Mm.
You know, at least I fucking hope so. Otherwise, put it this way: the private security market in Jacksonville is going to boom if John Moxley wins that match.
Yeah. Hangman's winning. Don't worry. Hangman is winning.
I know. I'm just worried. I just worry. I panic. I get in my own head.
Hangman is winning. Eddie Kingston returns to take out Gabe. So we get Gabe versus Eddie at Forbidden Door.
Yes, please.
Because those two are just... I wasn't high on Gabe initially when I first saw him. And he's grown on me as, I think, someone I do think is very good and I do enjoy. But Eddie Kingston is special, and Eddie Kingston, if he killed Gabe, that's fine.
I just want him back. I feel like pure shit. I just want Eddie Kingston back. But yeah, that is our predictions. We managed to avoid spiraling there at the end. Even though my brain desperately wants to. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We broadly agreed, I believe. I'm just running down the cards. I'm not sure if we did. Oh yeah, we disagreed on the Hurt Syndicate, and I believe we disagreed on. And we think, did we disagree on FTR and the Outrunners? Yeah, we did. We disagreed on FTR and the Outrunners, but apart from that, we're broadly in agreement.
Yeah.
We are also in agreement that if Hangman loses, we commit crimes of unspecified quantity. But yeah, it's not going to happen because Hangman is winning. This card looks generational, and I expect this show to be generational. Thank you very much for joining us in discussing it. Thank you to Justin for joining me and not crashing out as Dory might have. If you're not on the show, Dory, I'm going to talk shit about you. It just happens.
We're good. Everything's going to be good. We're going to walk out of All In so happy that they're going to be talking about it all night like there's no other wrestling going on.
Yeah, fuck you, Saturday night's main event. I did see a tweet that was like, 2 days. It was like, it was yesterday. It was like 2 days, 2 days to go. He's finally going to walk in there and claim what was rightfully his, and everyone's going to stand up and chant his name, Goldberg.
Yeah. Okay, I think we've gone too far.
Yeah, I know. Although it would be very fucking funny. As my hater agenda, I'm ready for Bill Goldberg to shock the world. But that's neither here nor
there. That might push Walter to leave and join the Better Company, where I would like to see him chop in better matches.
I agree. Oh my god, Walter versus Hangman. Holy shit. But anyway, he seems content with mediocrity. But that should do it for us. If anyone wants to come at me for those comments, better not miss.
Just leave a comment below.
Yeah, leave a comment below if you're pissed off, and thank you for the engagement. But if you enjoyed it, or if you want to yell at me, then like, comment, subscribe, share it around if anyone, if you have anyone that you think might enjoy it. And apart from that, we will see you probably for a review show at some point before, after All In and before Dynamite, where we will inevitably gush about Hangman winning, or murder suicide, one or the other.
If you never hear from us again, well,
if you never hear from us again, you know what happened. But yeah, beyond that, thank you for joining us. Thank you to Justin for joining me.
Yeah, no problem.
And we will see you on the flip side. Good night.
Good night.